Okay, so what if the most recited chapter in the entire Quran wasn't just a prayer, but actually a key? Today, we're diving into a really unique theory from our source material that suggests there's a numerical code hidden right inside the Quran's opening chapter. And this code, it claims, can unlock the whole text. The source material we're looking at today puts forward this pretty provocative idea that Surah Al-Fatiha, which means the opening, isn't just a prayer at all. It's a cipher. It argues that the chapter actually poses a set of fundamental questions meant to challenge the reader right from the get-go. But here's where the theory gets really interesting. It's about where it says the answers are. Instead of looking to history or outside traditions, it claims the Quran is this totally self-contained guide. The answers are apparently embedded right there in the text itself, just waiting to be decoded. So these are the 5 big questions the source pulls from Al-Fatiha. And the central claim is that if you can answer these, you unlock the entire Quran. But the answers themselves? They're coded directly into the book. So how on earth is this code supposed to work? Well, this is where the whole methodology gets really fascinating. The source kind of presents the Quran as a divine computer, if you will, with its own built-in operating system that's designed to interpret itself without any human meddling. This concept is basically the engine for this entire interpretation. By treating the text like a computer program, the method tries to take human opinion and bias completely out of the picture. It's not about what some scholar thinks a word means, it's about following a very precise numerical path that's already laid out in the text. And the process itself is, surprisingly straightforward. You just pick a key term from Al-Fatiha, you count its numerical spot in the chapter, then you match that number to a chapter in the Quran, and boom, that's where you'll supposedly find the term's real definition. Let's actually walk through an example from the source to see how it works in practice. All right, let's see this code in action. We're going to start with the very first of those 5 big questions from Al-Fatiha. What exactly is the Day of Judgment? So the key phrase here is Day of Judgment, or Yawm ad-Din in the original Arabic. According to this theory, that phrase isn't just some description. It's the very first clue in the code. And here's how the decoding actually happens. In the Arabic text of Al-Fatiha, the word for day, which is Yawm, is the 12th word. And the word for judgment, ad-Din, is the 13th. The method says you have to add these two positions together, so 12 plus 13 gives us 25. Now that number, 25, isn't random. According to this method, it points you exactly where you need to go for the answer. It means the Quran's own definition of the Day of Judgment is waiting for you in the 25th chapter. So you go to that 25th chapter, and the source points to this specific verse where the messenger is lamenting that his people have abandoned the Quran. And this leads to a pretty radical reinterpretation. Suddenly, the Day of Judgment isn't some future apocalypse, but a present-day reality. A time when the scripture itself is ignored. It becomes a state of being, not a date on a calendar. And this isn't a one-off thing. The exact same method is applied to all the other questions. For the straight path, the word positions point to chapter 39, which is interpreted as the path of sincerity. For those who receive grace, the code points to chapter 23, which is titled the believers. Those who are in wrath get defined by chapter 26, the poets. And finally, the misguided are linked to chapter 29, the spider, which the source connects to following a flawed, almost web-like methodology. So, as you can probably imagine, this whole system of interpretation leads to some conclusions that really stand in stark contrast to the mainstream historical ways of reading these same verses. And this is a perfect example of the method's impact. It takes a term that, for a long time, has been interpreted as referring to a very specific group of people and completely redefines it. In this system, those who earned wrath aren't a historical group at all, but a category of behavior defined by chapter 26, the poets. What the source argues is that this method fundamentally shifts the whole focus of interpretation. It moves away from relying on external history and commentary, and instead it makes the Quran's own internal numerical structure the primary key to figuring out what it all means. So what are you supposed to take away from all this? Well, the goal of this explainer isn't to prove or disprove this system. It's really to present it as a unique and honestly pretty thought-provoking lens for looking at a sacred text. This whole methodology really reframes the Quran as this dynamic, interconnected text that's believed to hold all the keys to its own understanding. It treats the book not just as a message, but as a perfectly designed system where the placement of every single word has a deep and very specific purpose. And ultimately, this method brings up a fascinating question about the nature of sacred texts in general. It really challenges us to ask where meaning truly comes from. Is it found mainly in historical context in human tradition, or could it also lie in these intricate mathematical patterns hidden just beneath the surface of the words themselves?